It is weaved into mythology and folklore, the past and the present, and it can even be found within deities that we revere so wholly. In witchcraft and paganism, lots of cunning folk will seek out deities because they personify the things that they hold most dear to their heart. They can make nature or the elements more personal and humanized, and these deities act as the bridges between the seen and the unseen realms. So if you do want to work with deities and you want to work with some that are more liminal in nature, it can seem like a bit of a challenge working out which ones are the right fit. In my little YouTube homecoming, I've decided to put together a list of liminal deities to help you on your journey. This list is great for those who want to work with the transitional, the boundaries, the threshold, the liminal spaces, because each of the deities in this list take on those characteristics in some way, shape or form. You will find that working with and collaborating with these deities will help you on your liminal journey with your liminal magic. This list is of course going to be incomplete because I still don't know all of the liminal deities that there are. We could spend months and months and months going over the different kinds of liminal deities across every single type of mythology, culture and folklore. So the ones that I have included in this list are ones that I personally work with or ones that I have researched myself. So come with me liminal folk on a liminal journey to learn more about liminal deities. We're going to start off with the most well-known and popular, which is of course Hecate. She is the goddess of witchcraft, crossroads, boundaries, the night, necromancy, magic, and so much more. Hecate is really one of those deities that is a well-rounded being. She governs and protects and is patron of a lot of things. Something you might not know about Hecate is she's actually a Titan, not an Olympian. The Titans are a lot older than the Olympians, and they were actually, you know, the big ones in charge before the Olympians defeated them and sent them off to Tartarus. But in the Titan God War, Hecate decided that she wanted to side with the Olympians, which is why she is still really well known and still very revered and respected today. She is an immensely powerful being, even more powerful than a lot of the Olympians, partially because of her primordial nature. In the modern day, people often regard Hecate as being the goddess of witches and witchcraft, or the mother of witches. And you will find that most witches, myself included, do work with her. It's not uncommon to find witches and pagans working with Hecate in some way, shape or form. What really got me connected to Hecate, besides her connection to witchcraft though, was her connection to boundaries and thresholds. I often refer to Hecate as the goddess of liminality because of this nature. Whenever I am doing any liminal magic, I always call in Hecate and leave offerings for Hecate and channel her power in those rituals. Hecate can also come and go as she pleases from different worlds. She crosses thresholds and boundaries with ease, which really gives more credibility to her liminal nature. Next on the list, we have the goddess of spring from Greek mythology, Pacifany. What's interesting about Pacifany actually, in tandem with Hecate, is Hecate is featured in Pacifany and Demeter's story. But we're not going to go into that today. Pacifany is a dual goddess, being both the goddess of the spring and the goddess of the underworld. She is the wife of Hades, the god of the underworld. She is known to spend 6 months of her time in Olympus with Demeter, her mother, and 6 months of her time with Hades, her husband, in the underworld. And of course, Demeter is her mother, and Demeter is the goddess of the harvest. Pacifany is a goddess that I've always been interested in mythologically, but in witchcraft she has come into the fold a lot more in the last 2 years because of her liminal nature. On one hand, she is super earthy. I mean, she's the goddess of spring and down to earth, but then she spends half of her time in the underworld and she has this very dark Lilith sort of vibe. As the goddess of spring, she is a symbol of life and fertility, but because she is also the queen of the underworld, that associates her with death and decay. She is able to traverse between the underworld, Earth, and Olympia with no problems. I think her story and just her nature of being this in-between figure really grants her incredible liminal abilities. I resonate a lot with Pacifany as a character, especially being in between all the playfulness of the earthy energy and the darkness and the alt nature, almost the gothic nature of being in the underworld. Next on the list, we have an epitaph of Hecate. Her name is Enodia, or Enodia. Lots of people consider her to be a part of Hecate and not a fully fledged goddess by herself, but I kind of see it a little bit differently. Enodia is a lesser known god or goddess. I mean, she is believed to be an epitaph of Hecate. A lot of the time you will see the phrase Hecate Enodia together. She is the goddess of the city, boundaries, protection magic, roads and cemeteries. So in a lot of ways, she is very, very similar to Hecate, and I can see why lots of people just do not like the idea of her being her own fully fledged deity. Lots of people also see her as a sort of personified variant of Hecate, like certain characteristics to do with her. It is said that Enodia would protect the boundaries of the city. She would protect the threshold that bordered the city, the doorways, the entryways. And of course, her dominion over cemeteries really lends more credibility to her liminal nature. Cemeteries, as we know, are a place where life and death meet, and they are often the first place that I will list as an example of the perfect liminal space. If you ever want to know how a liminal space feels, I always say go to a cemetery, go to a graveyard, and you will feel that signature liminal feel. So while Enodia does often get overlooked by Hecate, I very much see her as her own entity, and I've really grown fond of her in the last few years. I think she very much has her own importance as a singular figure separate from Hecate within the liminal world. Next, we have a deity that's a little bit closer to home, Kerwen. Kerwen is a Welsh figure. Some people call her a witch, some a sorceress, some call her an enchantress, others call her a goddess. While her status as a goddess may not be as ancient as Hecate or Pacifany, she very, very much has an important part within what would now be called the Welsh pantheon. Kerwen is revered in Welsh and Celtic mythology and folklore, as she rightfully should be. If we look at her specifically as a deity, just for the argument's sake of this video, she is the goddess of transformation and rebirth, the goddess of Awen and divine inspiration, the goddess of witches. Awen, the divine inspiration, the source of all inspiration that comes from deep within Anuvan, that is channeled through the druids and the bards. It is where all the creative juices come from in a magical liminal sense. Kerwen is most well known in her story where she chases the first of the great bards, Taliesin. But why I put Kerwen in the category of liminal deities is because of her connotations with transformation and just her abilities to shapeshift, in all honesty. Transformation at its core is a liminal act. It is a metamorphosis. It is a changing. It is a crossing of thresholds. And for Kerwen to be a figure / goddess of transformation really, really gives her credibility as a liminal deity. Next, we have the Horn God, the most well-known of the Celtic deities, Kernos. He is often considered to be the Celtic god of wild places. So think forests, wilderness, mountains, anything along those lines. But Kernos is a personified bridge between the human world and the natural magical world, between nature and man. He's also considered to be a fertility god, which I think, really goes well with everything else we're talking about here. And he is, of course, heavily associated with the Celtic otherworld, an exceptionally liminal place, which I have gone over in other videos. Kernos is one of the more mysterious gods because once you think you've learned stuff about him, you find out that that could be incorrect, or you need to cross-reference, or you need to find different resources. I find finding information out about Kernos quite cryptic, which kind of suits his nature. A lot of what we know about Kernos is shrouded in mystery and guesswork. What we do know, however, is he has always been associated with the Celtic otherworld. He's always been associated with wild places. He's always been associated with horned gods or horned beings. He is able to traverse between worlds with ease, see the pattern, and his status as being a bridge between the natural world and the man-made world really, really just bring it full circle. So while he is a mysterious figure, Kernos is definitely a liminal deity. Next, we have a goddess who doesn't have much information, but definitely deserves a place on this list, and that's Sulus. She is a goddess who was revered by both the Brythonic and the Roman people. She is considered a goddess of holy springs and sacred springs and waters, and in some cases a solar goddess too. She's also known to have dominion over both healing and cursing, so she's sort of in between there. Remnants of Sulus worship in the UK can actually still be found in the city of Bath. It is in Bath that you can find some of the only remaining artifacts associated with Sulus. She was so revered back in the day that the Romans actually fused her with Minerva, I think, and they called her Sulus Minerva, whereas usually they would have called her Minerva Sulus. But her influence was so strong that she got the top naming spot. I consider her to be a liminal deity because of her sort of here and there nature. She is the god of the sun and the waters and everything in between, everything above, everything below. Water itself, as I've mentioned before, is one of the most liminal things on the planet, so to have dominion over water really lends to a liminal nature. So her strong ties to these things really give her credit and give her credibility as being a liminal deity. Next, we have another figure from Celtic culture, and her name is Nematon. The word Nematon actually comes from Celtic culture as well, which describes sacred spaces, especially groves of trees, places of a sacred nature and a natural nature. And if you know me, you know that I think groves are incredibly liminal. Nematon actually has her roots in Gaul culture, but she found her way into Celtic culture and has been revered ever since. She is a goddess of sacred spaces, sacred groves, consecrated places, and more specifically, natural spaces, places where the earth can be found. To be a goddess of sacred, consecrated places, you can't really get more liminal than that. If you're looking to practice liminal witchcraft and liminal magic, one of the biggest things you will do is go to sacred spaces, create sacred spaces, find sacred spaces in order to perform your magic and rituals. So lending the power of Nematon might be something that would interest you if you struggle to find and work with these spaces naturally. Whenever we step into sacred spaces, we are stepping into the dominion of Nematon. Next on the list, we have a deity who you've probably heard of before, probably from American Horror Story, but in real life he's a little different. I introduce to you Papa Legba. Forgive me if I'm saying this wrong. Papa Legba is a Iwa. This is a type of spirit from Haitian voodoo and Dominican voodoo, I believe. Haitian voodoo is something that fascinates me, but I very much leave alone, so I really do apologize. I'm probably not the best person to be explaining this information to you. I just thought Papa Legba very much deserved a spot on this list. He is a psychopump, so psychopumps generally tend to ferry living souls to the land of the dead once they die, a bit like the ferryman from Greek mythology. He quite literally stands at the crossroads between life and death. He bridges the gap between the living and the deceased, between the living world and the spirit world. His very job is liminal. And this is why Papa Legba deserved a spot on this list, and I wanted to mention him, but I actively encourage you to do more digging into this deity, into this mythological figure, into this particular part of Haitian culture, but do so respectfully and just out of curiosity. I know lots of people say that Haitian voodoo or hoodoo, I'm not sure which one, but I know generally they are considered closed practices, so be mindful and respectful of this in your research. And finally, we have a Norse figure, a Norse deity, and his name is Heimdal. And no, we're not talking about the beauty that is Idris Elba. We're talking about the actual figure from Norse mythology. Heimdal is a Norse god who does actually protect and govern the Bifrost, a rainbow bridge that connects all of the worlds in Norse mythology. He keeps watch for invaders who might try and make their way into Asgard. And the fact that he is the protector and the keeper and the governor of bridges, of a bridge, one of the most well-known famous bridges in all mythology, you can't really deny him liminal status after that. I very much see Heimdal as a steward of liminality, a guardian of liminality. He is a keeper. He is a keeper of liminality, and his job looking after the Bifrost very much gives this credibility. Now, I haven't done as much research on Heimdal, so I don't have really anything else to add to that. But like Papa Legba, I very much thought he deserved a place on this list. Once you start looking, liminality is ubiquitous in nature. Once you start looking, you won't stop finding it. It can seem hidden when you're not on the conscious journey, but as soon as you are, you unlock the door to liminality. You cross the bridge and the threshold yourself. So this list was just meant to be an introduction into liminal deities, and if you would like a second part, or you want me to go into more detail or anything else, please drop a comment, leave a like, subscribe, share this video, help me get out to more people, and I would happily make this a little mini series on the channel. And if you're looking to work with liminal deities yourself, I hope that this list has inspired you. I hope that it has made you think that you can find these deities and you can work with them yourself. Blessings, liminal folk, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.